Battle of the Three Kings, 1578 AD, Part 2. The Kings Clash. Let's go.
Before we continue the story of the Three Kings, I'm very happy to say that we partnered up with Blinkist for this video.
Oh, interesting.
If you love history like I do, you'll know that there are too many books to...
What you got in store for us? Let's go. We're about to get into the fight, aren't we?
Without too much scouting ahead, when the Portuguese army crossed the river, they were bewildered by the large numbers of tribal cavalry and infantry that were assembling across the field. King Sebastian immediately decided that the only tactical option for his much smaller force of 23,000 was to form into a vast square.
This is what I asked about last episode
center,
at the start.
The wagon train was formed as a fort to protect the camp followers.
Because they had so many camp followers. Starting to make sense now.
Provide a central anchor for the army. Portuguese regiments formed the flanks and rear of the square, mixed with contingents of cavalry and professional troops to boost their morale and keep the men in line. The front of the square was a formidable force, formed by experienced German and Italian mercenaries and other volunteers armed with arquebuses.
But they're all volunteers.
Who were trained to shoot and reload behind the protection of the wall of German pikemen. In addition, aiming to break up a potential massive charge by the Moroccans, Sebastian placed a series of wooden forts made of wagons which bristled with sharpshooters.
Nice.
Finally, an elite shock regiment of heavy cavalry was drawn up in the front. Although vastly outnumbered,
this is quite a cool
Sebastian's
little...
army was better equipped and more technologically advanced.
How are the
On the other side of the field, the
House of
50,000 strong Moroccan army formed a crescent shape. In the center, disciplined infantry and arquebusiers were arrayed in two lines,
How are they gonna do?
each several ranks deep.
Okay.
To either side were Moroccan townsmen, as well as renegades from Spain and Turkey. The third line was formed of Berber soldiers and cavalrymen on the flanks. Realizing that the Crusaders were better equipped and possessed technologically superior weaponry, Sultan Abd al-Malik rode out to galvanize the men.
Come on then, Malik.
You must
what are you going
oppose
to
the
do?
Crusaders with valor, for you fight for your families, your life, and your honor. And should you die today, you will be led into paradise. With their confidence raised, the troops cheered al-Malik's name as he rejoined the ranks.
At the back.
But no one knew the Sultan's secret, which was that he was dying. Suffering from either the plague or camp fever, the progress of the disease was accelerated by horse riding for several hundred kilometers in a forced march to reach the battlefield.
So he's just doing this as a last ditch? Is his brother going to take over?
Only the Sultan's brother and his faithful Jewish doctor knew the true personal cost that the Sultan would pay. And, reaching the limit of his skills, the doctor could only use his art to give the Sultan another day or two of vigor, urging him to rest. But Abd al-Malik refused to retire to his tent, insisting that there must not be even a hint of suspicion about his illness, in order to preserve the morale of the troops. Knowing he had
Is he not just going to infect his own army with the plague, if it's the plague?
little time left, he embraced his brother Ahmed, with whom he experienced decades of exile and spilled blood at Lepanto and Tunis, and told him to fight, conquer, or die. There was no more time to waste.
Right. Okay.
When I first started EVE, I was a minor, and I was really...
Right. Let's see what you've got then. That's brave by Malik.
Needed to spend a couple of hours drawing closer to find the range. Then an hour before noon, the whole Crusader army knelt together as one in one last prayer. When they rose, the Portuguese elite shock cavalry leapt forth first on King Sebastian's command, followed by the Castilian crack infantry regiment. The king, though vastly outnumbered, decided to utilize his superior troops and strike decisively in order to avoid being overwhelmed by the enemy.
What are you going to do about the rest of your troops?
Could single-handedly break and rout an enemy army many times their numbers.
Really? He's that fucking confident?
As the ground trembled under the hooves of the Crusader cavalry, Moroccan arquebusiers fired. Although their volleys were effective, the long reload time allowed Sebastian's crack troops to close the distance.
Make a triangle formation, a piercing formation.
The Moroccan division in the front was broken instantly.
Shit.
The second
Spearhead
line could not
just
hold
coming
the
in.
Crusader charge and was pushed back. And as the Castilian infantry joined the fighting, the Moroccan centre was thrown into confusion.
Why is no one else responding then?
Al-Malik leapt forward with his bodyguards to help prevent the line from faltering, signalling the third line to reinforce the centre.
And why is no one else going on to the flanks?
The unstoppable Crusader heavy cavalry hacked through the enemy centre, the Muslims held on by a thread, and it seemed like their cohesion would break at any moment.
People need to start joining in on this fight.
Leading from the front, Al-Malik and his regiment of experienced bodyguards, helped by the counterattack of Berber infantry from the third line, finally blunted the brave Crusader assault. And now, seeing that Sebastian's best troops were locked in ferocious fighting with his centre, the Sultan gave the signal to his brother. Waves of tribal horsemen emerged from behind the small gentle hills and undulated land of the valley, led by Ahmad al-Mansur. The impetus of the seemingly stunned Crusader cavalry had gone, as the gravity of the situation became clear.
They're going to attack the square.
20,000 tribal horsemen now surging forward.
They've got to go for the square, right?
The elite Christian troops began fighting their way back towards the main line to escape Al-Malik's trap, realizing that their forward push was now in vain. The Sultan ordered his infantry to envelop the Crusader vanguard, and with his personal regiment of bodyguards, he disengaged from the fighting to join his brother's cavalry attack that was bearing down on the Portuguese defensive square.
Yeah. That's why he didn't fucking respond too soon.
Knowing that what was soon to come would be a fight to the death. Meanwhile, in the Crusader vanguard, some of the Castilian elite infantry was trampled as the heavy cavalry was trying to retreat.
Yeah, how many of the cavalry got out though?
Increasingly desperate.
No, they got enveloped.
Troops now coming from all sides. But Sebastian replied by launching a cavalry attack of his own. As the Portuguese infantry parted to allow the mounted knights to pass through, the king led his nobles and their retinues, as well as the cavalry contingent of the deposed Sultan Abdallah Muhammad, directly towards Al-Malik's banner, knowing that if he could strike the Sultan down,
brave Sebastian. Oh, this is such a good video, such a good fucking fight. Come on, Sebastian. Come on, Malik. Who's going to win? What's going to happen? Both of them showing their bravery here.
A few meters of the Sultan, who used the last ounce of his strength to draw his sword and join the fighting. Blows
Got to respect both of them in this fight.
And for a few moments the fate of Morocco hung in the balance, as one by one the Islamic standards fell around the Sultan. But the steadfast bodyguards held their ground and managed to rally around their leader. Sebastian's audacious attack was broken.
Unfortunate Sebastian, but well done, Malik.
Came in wave after wave,
or Malik,
firing their arquebuses at the Portuguese square. They were trained to gallop towards the enemy, and just before hitting the pikes, their horses would pirouette, enabling their riders to shoot at point-blank range before riding back out of harm's way to reload and renew the attack. The Portuguese put up a valiant fight as the pikemen held their ground and arquebusiers shot deadly volleys at the incoming enemy, cutting down nearly 7,000 Moroccan troops. But as the hours passed, their numbers dwindled.
And then it was a full frontal attack.
Sebastian was seen fighting in person, and despite being wounded, he carried on inspiring his men to hold their ground.
Nice, Sebastian.
It is said that 3 horses were slain from under him, and that his bodyguards were reduced to but a few men. At some point in the battle, the king too fell while fighting.
Yeah.
By dusk,
thought it might happen, but he went down with his men
on the field, and 15,000 were captured, with less than 100 managing to escape the carnage, including the former Sultan Muhammad, who either died during the battle or drowned in the river whilst trying to flee. With blood on his white garments,
he was never going to survive, though.
Malik stood victoriously, looking every bit the leader his people needed.
Nice.
Yet he was close to collapsing. His robes were hiding the fact that he was strapped to his saddle, as he would otherwise not have been able to ride his horse in battle.
Respect.
With the disease that was about to kill him, it was miraculous that he found the strength to take active part in the fighting. Moments later, with the battle still ongoing, Sultan Abd al-Malik closed his eyes, drew his last breath, before gently slumping forward in his saddle.
Respect.
3 kings fell on that August the 4th, 1578. As the few survivors trickled in, the news of the defeat paralyzed the kingdom of Portugal and would have disastrous consequences. The country was deeply in debt and unable to pay for crippling financial reparations demanded by the Morocco venture.
So what happens?
Almost every noble family suffered a slain family member, while some families were entirely extinguished as a result of the battle.
Gee, of course, there was such a big retinue.
Worse, after King Sebastian's death, the House of Aviz, which had ruled Portugal for 200 years, was overthrown by a Castilian military invasion. The dethroned Sultan Muhammad II was reportedly thrown in the river from his horse while he was trying to flee the battle, although it is possible that he was killed in the fighting.
Shit.
Meanwhile, Sultan Abd al-Malik was succeeded by his brother Ahmad al-Mansur, who went on to rule Morocco for the next 25 years, becoming the most famous of all Saudi rulers.
Oh, do we get to find out more about him?
Ahmad was a highly influential figure in both Europe and Africa in the 16th century. The powerful army he had built up and Morocco's key strategic position made him an important power player during the late Renaissance period. He was described by his contemporaries as a man of profound Islamic learning, a true lover of books, calligraphy and mathematics, and he was known as a connoisseur of mystical texts, as well as an avid participant in scholarly discussions.
Do you think that's because of things that he picked up when he was living in the Ottoman Empire?
In many ways, his reign ushered a golden period in the history of Morocco.
Okay, nice.
Credit goes to our awesome patrons who make videos like this one possible. Consider joining them to support our work.
And if you definitely want to go support that work, you should head over to their channel, because HistoryMarche makes amazing content. If you haven't watched their videos already, but if you have and you just want to check their new content out, then click that link down below and it will send you right down to their channel. If you enjoyed my reaction, looking forward to future reactions, you know what you need to do. You need to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. But I'm going to catch you in the next video after I read these side notes.